Okay, I want to show up mature to this message because the message, pause, you might not know what it might contain. So there's a pause before the approach. And since there's a pause, that pause can be utilized in so many different ways. Because I want to put a disclaimer on this video, it's explicit. So pause, don't watch the video unless you're mature, you know, like on a new energy drive and trajectory and whatnot. So now that we got that out of the way, now here I'm gonna say what I'm gonna say, and hopefully, aside from my aspects and fragments, somehow with the grace of like God balancing the angels and whatnot and doing other shit beyond that, maybe somehow, like, you know, somehow the shadow could get some type of healing. And I'm not speaking for every shadow, but the certain energy of the mother shadow is out there impacting us, you know? And that mother shadow, it could be looked at as a very unique energy that's coming from a dream world, and it has a very unique materialization from the shadow character of the respectively the mother archetype. Because quote unquote Lilith, end quote, she could have an expression that is very niche. What do I mean by very niche? A very niche placement within how the quote unquote the tree template of just the basic Egyptian Qabbalah, right? So the tree template of the basic Egyptian Qabbalah, what is that saying? Things are in their place, and that tradition has been passed down, and there's certain names and titles in certain energy centers that expresses itself differently through each human, but similarly, right? Because that tree template of Egyptian Qabbalah, respectively, because there was an affiliation there just with the Sephiroths of energy, and from that quote unquote earlier edition, end quote, there are different titles and names, but the energy still could be the same as the traditions pass by. So as the traditions pass by, that tree template, it could just be one expression of what you are, you know, because what you are is, it could have a whole different expression as far as what's residing without any of like the spiritual woo-woo stuff. You know, you have some type of like genitals and like you have some type of reproduction system, right? And the organs and whatnot. So within all of that, that's a different expression of just energy centers. So the different expression of energy centers, one take of it is obviously like, you know, the Vedic edition of it, just the chakras. You know, the Oriental ancient Chinese hood, they have their own, like, you know, edition of it within the meridians. And obviously it's been passed down in some area of time to Jewish mysticism, and how they have their own updated version respectively of what the Kabbalah is. And then just, you know, how astrology is a different, you know, reflection of those energy centers, and they're just different, like, there's just different types of energy centers, obviously. So so the tree template of Egyptian Kabbalah, respectively, within the tree template of that, there is some type of like quote unquote base, right, end quote. So within that base of energy, that could be akin and respectively corresponded to the root chakra, right? Regardless of the name and the title, it's bearing some type of position of the base root chakra, right? So that root chakra, for whatever reason, in one expression of the tree template or the energy body, there, for some reason in one edition of it, there's names and titles relating to the energy center, and the energy center is something of a low key. It's a bigger energy, but it's like low key like that, because it's like, if it is like, if it is ultimately like held together by some, and it's expressing itself in a different a different state of being. That different state of being is upholding a different collective root chakra. So that collective root chakra, respectively, we're looking at that as different names. And then the sacral chakra and all the other chakras have their places within a certain expression of the tree template, right? So within all of that, for some reason, we could see like how we could just see how like how some names could differ from others, but they could be the same energy or coming from the same energy. Because if like Lilith is the sacral chakra most respectively, and Gabriel is the sacral chakra most respectively, it could be perhaps that they could be the same being, and Gabriel is just a masculine expression of also a feminine energy expression. Because these beings are androgynous, so it's not to say that they're male or female, but they could be prominent in one expression of the tree template of bearing an energy of more masculine than feminine and more feminine than masculine. So as that's going on, it could be that they could be the same energy, like the same names. They could be the same energy, but the same names, they could also be just of the same tribe, you know? Because it's either like Gabriel is coming from Lilith in a unique way, or Gabriel is Lilith in a certain way. So it's one of those two, because if you look at the tree templates of, you know, quote unquote life and death, end quote, most respectively, within how it's been passed down to us, that energy, we're growing with that energy, but we don't know it. So it's not to say that like, oh, he doesn't know what he's talking about. It's not saying that. You just told me that this is reflecting the human body, right? So if it's reflecting the human body, we're all like partaking in this learning process respectively of seeing how these like energy centers as within have a different as without principle, you know? And let me just like prove, let me just quote unquote let me correct myself from like, or quote unquote disprove myself, end quote. And what I mean by disprove myself is I can write a certain comment, and then obviously someone will ask like, well, what do you mean by that? Obviously. And you know, the as within, as without thing, if you take two different people from two different spaces in the galaxy and they're completely like different, and they're both bringing their as within of just themselves to a different meeting point, center stage, then how are they reflecting the outer self of each other when they're two totally different things? So there's a shared arena space where like there's like everything is new, you know, kind of in just one stage of it. So since everything is new, it's like if we put you on a whole different quote unquote planet, right, end quote, and that planet has its own level of unconsciousness, and maybe you have some level of light consciousness, how is your as within reflecting that as without? That as without is its completely different specimen. So they're bringing their own different resonances, and they're reflecting their inner resonances to a place outside that they're not necessarily affiliated with. And since they're not affiliated with that as without, that's kind of, there's a nuance where it's incomplete and incorrect. So I just corrected myself, you know, because obviously, like, you know, you don't think I'm gonna like, you know, perceive that someone's gonna fucking ask respectively, like, well, what do you mean? Like, why? Like, obviously that's gonna be like, it's gonna be pondered upon and dwelled upon. That, like, of course someone's gonna ask, well, what do you mean? Like, duh. So so within what's going on there, we're climbing up more or less. The life circumstances is the resonant essence of bigger macro beings and their challenges and their way of being, because their way of being, that is the modality of them, you know. It's like the modality is the self in one sense. So since the modality is the self, it's we're just all working through our own like stuff, pretty much, no judgment, right? And seeing the intention for what it is, perhaps for a low-key real energetic purpose, mind you. So within that being said, it's like we could say the point of this video is the super shadow. The super shadow, not raunchy, not raunchy, but Lilith is the super shadow sex mother. She's the mother of sex. And from that mother of sex, that fluid being is taking a certain place of materialization, and she's just more or less producing that. And it's not good, it's not bad. Lilith is the sacral chakra in one sense, but she's the super shadow chakra because she's also resonant in between the collective solar plexus and the collective sacral chakra. So within those chakras, Lilith is there. She's there as just doing her thing, and it's not good, not bad. And our young spirits, most respectively, are becoming aware of that. And we're going through that which has always been going on, because some people will act like shocked, like, what the fuck? This has always been happening though, you know, on a different tip. So if it's always been happening, why be shocked, you know? But if you're shocked, it's because something new to you of a different light is coming into something that's old of you. So that's some type of metaphysical shock. So, I'm going to conclude this right here. Just understanding like why it's like good to like process that is so we know how the super shadow is just, we're a part of that super shadow, and we have that super shadow based on where Lilith is in your chart, right? So wherever Lilith is in your chart, that's like like Lilith is the feminine subconscious, right? So that feminine subconscious, it's somewhere suppressed, not good, not bad, in your astrological chart. So wherever Lilith is, and Lilith is in your chart, that's like some type of darkness that's there, that's on a different collective level, resonating with the quote unquote sacral chakra, right? Because that sacral chakra, it's for it to be in the quote unquote physical world, end quote, that's just what the nature of it is, you know, how things like, because it's a whole different mechanism of nature we're barely processing. And that Lilith, she has expressed herself in different ways, and and part of being in the physical reality, quote unquote demonic, end quote, is the different chakras have had their different journeys to experience any type of quote unquote energy baggage or trauma, end quote, that it has picked up and accumulated along the way. So this is a most respected video. Ironically, I'm not trying to argue with anybody. I'm just trying to see the pure truth of stuff. And that's kind of like, it's kind of interesting, because that's like the irony is irony is the irony, right? So within irony being irony, I don't know, you iron it however you want, and you know, careful with that. You know, careful. Me to me though. So within understanding like the quote unquote, the nature of the quote unquote some type of feminine shadow of nature, we could then see how the solar flares in the sky, most respectively, how they're also being reciprocated and reflected back amongst the solar system's acoustic bioreverberating chambers of energy, consciousness, and intelligence. Number one, I keep going, mofos.